extremely excited to be able to share again another Mindset Monday with you. And as we come out of the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, I turned everything off. I shut off my phone. I really spent just time, not just with friends and family, but I spent time immersed in really reflecting on what this past year has meant and how I wanted to close the year out. And as I did that, I kept coming back on the word choice. And it's so simple, and it's so easy to think of the word choice and think of immediate actions. But I want to stretch this. I want to stretch this from, yes, we have choice to show up every day. Yes, and we're going to talk about that. We have choice to how we react after coming back out of the holidays. And we have choice in the way that we focus in on the weight of some of the pressures financially of being a provider or setting ourselves up for our future. That happens when you're a job seeker. You have choice on how you react, right, with those pressures. But even more than that, there's an opportunity that December particularly gives you when you get to don't just think about today, but it is your ability to be able to actually reverse engineer what you want to happen in February and January. Everything that you want to happen in the hiring months, the big months, happen right now. Your choices every single day should be seen as the building blocks to go where you need to be. And that's how we get into the idea of creating and forming a foundation so that you can be successful. Now, this is a little different than when I've talked about foundation in the past on some of these other mindsets. This is really about a mentality that you have to formulate for yourself. And this is not a toughness mentality. This is not a mentality that just is, I'm gonna pick myself up when I'm feeling down. No. This is a much more important foundation than just immediate motivation. This is the one that you can retreat to when you do feel like you're having a hard time. And here's how I want you to do this. I want you to pause and really ask yourself 3 questions. Do you really know your story? Do you really understand your superpowers and how they fuel that story? And then can you truly articulately and clearly share with confidence and being concise those 2 things together? And if your answer is yes, then great. Then that you are already through that foundational moment. But if you're not sure about that, if you feel a little insecure about those questions, then where you need to go is moving towards a place of correction. But I want you to understand where I'm going to go with this idea of correction. There's obviously tasks. We're going to discuss those. There's some mental exercises. We can talk about those. But it's also about first seeking out something that's so important, and that's the wisdom, how to create your story and understand your superpowers. And wisdom doesn't just grow from going and reading a book. It doesn't just come from talking to someone else. It's a combination of several actions as well as the mental understanding of what you're pursuing this wisdom for. Because if we just go do networking connections, we go do some coursework, maybe we do some coaching, interview practice, we reflect, and we have and we produce a bunch of applications. That doesn't mean anything unless we have a clear strategy of where that is chasing and what we're chasing after. And that is, in my opinion, we're making those choices to do all those things to lead us to proper wisdom. Because getting a job and the toughness, the suffering, the pain, the heartache, all of it that comes from that leads us to a better place of baseline foundational wisdom. We know what we're capable of when we've been stretched to our limits. We understand the importance of each step so that we can actually excel when we feel like we're having the hardest of days. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that there's not some clear things that we focus on here at JSC. So everything I said is super important. It's all very much foundational, but now we have to take action. So let's go back. Did you say yes? Are you ready to go? Do you have everything? Great. And if you are ready to go, then that means you're ready to move on and start creating those marketing materials. And that's how we're going to do this next week. So if you said yes, you're ready. You're ready to go right now. When we get off this call, these are the things you have to do immediately. Okay? And that means you have to take those marketing materials, make sure your resume is ready to go, your LinkedIn is ready to go, your elevator pitch is tight, concise, exciting, exhilarating, and direct. And your core story shares immediately the choices that you're currently making, as well as the wisdom that you've acquired over your life, and in particularly, if you're a job seeker right now, where you're going next. That is so important that you understand. You cannot build momentum if you have a shaky foundation. You have to utilize and understand the value of the strength in that foundation. We can't shift gears and move beyond this and move to, say, networking strategy if we don't have a good, clear understanding of who you are, what you are, and where you're going. Now, if you have that strength, perfect. If it's polished, great. If it's not polished, then let's get to work. It's not a single step inside of of what I've articulated so far in your marketing materials that is going to get you to where it's all of it together and understanding how it works together. Because once you have that, you're going to have a better chance of not just connecting with the proper recruiters, but giving the recruiters that 7-second scan and seeing how you fit. When they go check and say, "Ooh, I like this person," or "Ooh, they're a good fit," and they go from your resume, from your cover letter, whatever it is that sparked them to look at you further, and then they go to your LinkedIn, and maybe they look at the note you sent them privately. That starts to show the connection piece that's important. This is how you also understand how to then move and shift into the world of networking with a purpose. Because understanding networking right now is not about getting a job. It's about creating the momentum engine that moves you towards getting that job. So if we have our marketing materials ready, now we get into networking strategy. And this is a complete unlock for you right now in the holiday season. We've talked about gratitude for the past month. And this is a place of having the right posture. Presenting and moving into your network strategy is all about coming in authentically of who you are and why you're seeking, right? You're not seeking any of these individuals to get a job inside of warm or inside of cold. You are seeking relationships. If you have a posture of transactional outreach, you're going to miss the momentum engine that you need to create in December. You have to come in with the idea and have the right energy, which is not the one, and I know you might feel the pressure to say, "I need a job." I know you might feel it. But in reality right now is you are showing thankfulness, you're showing gratitude, you're showing connection, because each individual you meet, you're acquiring information. Through that warm network, you're building different processes for yourself. You're developing wisdom through these conversations. You're developing real relationships through these conversations. You're leading with that gratitude moment, and you're not talking in a state of anxiety. Hear me. It's hard to remove that from yourself, but you have to build your firm foundation so you know the strategy is going to work. I speak to you in this way because over the last several years, I've seen this work so many times. I know that if you perform these tasks, you will be successful. Confident in that. We have data to prove it. So we think in JSC, you have a 3-lane strategy when it comes to networking. You have warm outreach, you have cold outreach, and you have your blind approach. And when you actually do all 3 of these together, then you are building something that's much more unique. You're building a foundation. People you already know, that's your warm. The cold outreach, these are the companies you want to be a part of that really matters to you. And then you have the blind approach, which is these are the companies that have job openings right now. Maybe they're just collecting data, but that doesn't mean you don't connect with them and fill your pipeline with those relationships. You use your 222 system. You build out your network tree. You utilize your tracking systems. You follow up appropriately with the appropriate message over the next several weeks. If you are interviewing currently, which is where we're going to go next, let's say you've got your marketing materials, you're rocking, you've got some networking going, it's been rocking for you, and now you're interviewing. And you're in that interview skills prep where I'm going to talk about next. That's great. That's wonderful. That's huge, right? But I want you to understand this point. Transitioning into this space sometimes gives us comfort. Get uncomfortable. I don't care how many interviews you have going for yourself right now. Stay uncomfortable. The biggest mistake that job seekers make at any point of the year, but in particularly in the holiday season, is they get very comfortable with the fact that they have some leads and some opportunities. Don't do that. Go back and restart your mission to that original foundation and keep building. You need insurance policies. You have to make sure that you don't become stagnant and comfortable in a time of year when it's really easy to do that. We've in previous mindsets, we've talked about how this is the one time of year when the noise starts to shut off. This is when recruiters, 87% of recruiters work up to the day of Christmas, right? They're still following up. They're still checking. They're still looking over to build up their January and their February. So be one of those individuals that make the noise and do it appropriately to set it up for your January and your February. So let's say you've got those interviews though. You're working through your prep. You're designing your clarity. You're focused in on those interviewers while you're building everything else in the back. This is the key here, is the proper follow-up, right? Make sure you're leaning in and you're thinking through three major aspects whenever you're going into the world of interview skills. And obviously I can't talk about all the training and all the workshops that we share inside of interviews. But what I want to make you understand is, are you really truly preparing to win the role in front of you? Or are you just really wanting to get a job before the holidays? That is two very different questions. I'll say it again. Are you preparing to win the role that's in front of you? Or are you just trying to get a job before the end of the holidays? Mindset matters here. Understand that you're interviewing this company. You've got to stay focused on that. I had a wonderful conversation with Wendy through some text this morning about red flags of a possible company that she's interviewing with. And I can tell you right now that is happening across the board, right? But that doesn't mean that we should give them 100% grace. It also means that we shouldn't get rid of them as a company, right? If they're slow, if they're showing red flags, we can be curious and we can be optimistic, but we definitely should be registering those moments. It's the reason why we build out and we hedge our bets against these potential opportunities. You want to build your pipeline against these possible roles. That's the number 2 point. Consistently build your pipeline and take the information that you've gathered, the things you've learned from the company, so you can utilize it with the other companies you're going to interview with. You can take all this information, the things that you've done well, the things you've struggled with, how you would have worded things, what you would have presented. All of that is fuel to help you build out a better strategy going forward. The number one thing to do is, if you got this much momentum, you can't allow the holiday blues. So this is number 3. You have to keep your momentum, and so you never reset your search. I'm going to say that again. Keep your momentum so you never reset your search. The moment that you get comfortable is the moment that everything dries up, and then you fall back and you lose all that you've been working for up until this point. So I know you might be tired. I know you might be worn out, but you got to stay in motion. You have to keep moving. Okay. So you might have been listening and you might have come to the place where you said, Stephen, I've not done any of this yet. I've not had any of this momentum that you're talking about. Maybe you were just laid off. Maybe you're just super overwhelmed. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you got through this holiday and realized after coming out of it, it's a lot. And maybe life just hit you hard. Maybe there was illness, sickness, other things popped up. Maybe your car didn't work this morning. Maybe anything could have laid on top of your shoulders. And you might just be like, I don't even know where to get started. And I can tell you, you need to move towards the community of people that are going through these similar tasks. And I understand we have our community. Yes, come join us. I'd love to have you, right? But even if it's not ours, you have to find a community and get into it of people who are going through the same thing you're going through. There's something about, it's not about communal therapy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about finding the motivation to understand that, yes, our situation might be hard, but someone else has it worse. Yes, our situation is really hard, but it takes a lot. It takes toughness, wisdom, ability to lift other people up, even though you're hurting, but to give other people that support and that help is huge. It does something for you. So you surround yourself with people who can build you up, who can show you, and who can guide you to stay unstuck in the situation so that you can be that person for everybody else. More than 50% of our members land roles in 90 days or less. And they do that not just because the coursework is great, not just because, in my opinion, I think Tina's a pretty great coach, right? It's not just because of that. No, they find it because there's a community of people who don't let them miss out on the opportunity to stay focused. They don't lose out on the foundation. They don't miss the chance, right, to pick somebody else that makes them feel better to move forward. And if you do that right now over the next 3 weeks, which are the most important 3 weeks of the year for anyone who's a job seeker, because if you don't build your momentum now, you're going to be way behind everybody else, or you're going to get lost in the crowd in January and February when everybody else is trying to chase after these jobs. And if you haven't been paying attention over the last couple of weeks, the market is flooded right now. I think back to the 13,000 individuals from Verizon, and that was just a big headline. There was a bunch of smaller companies or even larger companies that reduced their staff by 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, and more to come. So if you want to get outside of that and you don't want to be a part of that wave, that flood of people who maybe are just taking the holidays and they're going to jump in on January, right? You need to get started right now and build those relationships, build that foundation, and bring it all together. So as we move in, here's my challenge. And I'll bring it to you guys for questions, is first this: choose to step forward. No matter where you were in those 3 tiers, choose to step forward. Choose wisdom over fear. Lean into that statement. What does wisdom look like for you? Is it wisdom in understanding where you are currently? Is it wisdom in understanding the suffering, the pain? Is it wisdom of what you're going to do for others? No matter where you are, choose wisdom over the fear of not knowing the future. Choose strategy over scrambling. What we truly believe is the complete unlock for our job seekers is the fact that we holistically and 100% focus on strategy. We talk always about playing chess over checkers. And that is a very simple way to explain to you, if you don't have a strategy, you will lose in this game currently, and no one should lose in this game that has the talent that you have. Choose momentum over stagnation. Momentum during the holidays can be hard because everything else tells you to slow it down. Don't do that. Again, get in a community, build relationships, find someone who you can talk to, build a relationship with someone who can motivate you, and then you be that person for them when they need it. That goes back to understanding how wisdom works over fear and how strategy works over scrambling. And then because you have this momentum, you're going to find the right place. So put in the work, educate yourself, and then execute your plan. You'll become invincible, I promise you, because if you can live through this, then you can live through anything. I've talked to so many of our success stories, and one of the number one things that they always say over and over again is they say, get in a community, because once you build the relationships of people who've gone through this, right, you'll never forget the pain, the heartache, the suffering that you went through, and you'll be so grateful and you have so much gratitude of where you are today. So the challenge for you is to build this out and execute on it. If you're a part of our community and you're listening to this, I'd love for you to go into the mindset. Michael did a great job. He did a great post this morning. Go and get involved with that. If you feel compelled and you have a question, go to the coaching content section. Ask your questions. If you need support, reach out to Tina and myself, right? If you know someone, you've made connection with someone in the community, reach out to that person, check on them, update where they are, give them some momentum, lift them up. Maybe ask for help from them. The number one thing you have to do coming out of this is do something that builds off of where you are in your current search. And remember that anything is possible for you if you lean in and choose and make the choice for momentum and strategy. Appreciate you guys. Always a pleasure. And I look forward to hearing from all of you about the momentum that you're taking coming out of the holidays.